The following podcast is provided by Athira Pharma and Answers for Elders Radio.
And welcome everyone to Answers for Elders Radio Network. And it's amazing. We are in the month of May in the spring in the Pacific Northwest where we're broadcasting from. And also we're going to talk about a topic today that we probably haven't done much of. And I know that right now there's an issue out there with a lot, you hear about dementia, but you may hear about Alzheimer's, you may hear about vascular dementia, but there's a whole other type of dementia that we really haven't delved into. And so we are very honored today to have Dr. Daniel Burdick from Evergreen Hospital Medical Center here in the Pacific Northwest. And he's a physician's investigator who's been trained in movement disorders and neuro-psychiatric disorders. And basically, we're going to talk about Lewy body dementia today. And Dr. Burdick, welcome to Answers for Elders. I'm so glad you're here.
Well, thank you, Suzanne. I'm happy to be here.
Well, I'm glad you're here too, because, we hear about Lewy body dementia, but I would venture to say that 99% of the world doesn't really know what it is or what distinguishes it from other forms of dementia. So before we even get started, Doctor, would you mind kind of giving us an overview of what it is?
Sure. So Lewy body disease encompasses two different disorders, both Parkinson's disease dementia and dementia with Lewy bodies.
Uh-huh.
In fact, they're very similar disorders. Both involve multiple systems in the brain. So they're distinct from other forms of dementia because they come with what we call motor symptoms. So motor symptoms include things like difficulty moving,
Right.
tremor, slowness, stiffness, and they also come with much more commonly, particularly more commonly earlier in the course of the disease, they include hallucinations and delusions, which are some very difficult symptoms. So that's, I'd say, the main clinical features that distinguish the Lewy body dementias from, say, Alzheimer's disease or vascular dementia, as you.
It's interesting because I think the first thing we may think of is like Robin Williams was just diagnosed with Lewy body dementia. But what I do know about as much about Lewy body dementia, which I'm hopefully going to learn a lot more in this hour with you, but I know that there's a big relation to it with Parkinson's disease, that it kind of sometimes goes, not always, but sometimes goes hand in hand. Is it the escalation of Parkinson's often that causes it, or is it just something that just is common that shows up? Do you know that when I guess, am I framing the question correctly?
Yes, you're framing a very common question and a very common misunderstanding about the disease. So let me set from the beginning. So really, they're two separate disorders, at least the way they've classically been defined. Dementia with Lewy bodies and Parkinson's disease.
Right.
However, they both have these Lewy bodies. Lewy bodies are just a feature that's seen on autopsy, frankly. Like when they look at the brains of people who've had these diseases, they see inside the brain cells these little spheres that they gave the name Lewy bodies to.
Wow.
So they're defined as two distinct disorders, but they're so similar that a lot of people, including the Movement Disorder Society, considers them like one disease on a spectrum of Lewy body diseases.
Uh-huh.
The only way that we make the distinction between Parkinson's disease dementia and dementia with Lewy bodies based on timing of symptoms. So I mentioned that both have motor symptoms like the stiffness, slowness, tremor. In Parkinson's disease dementia, those motor symptoms happen first.
Right.
Dementia may develop later. It's defined as dementia with Lewy bodies if the dementia happens first or within the first year after developing those motor symptoms. So, so that's the only distinction between the two, really, is the timing of these different symptoms.
Interesting. Yeah. So obviously, our listeners know that we have this amazing relationship with Athera Pharma. And Athera, for all of our listeners that may have not heard of you, they are giving us the opportunity to host, medical experts like yourself. And certainly, one of the things that we're very excited about is to help kind of be that bridge to bring people into clinical trials. And that's basically to learn a lot about what is, being involved in kind of the cutting edge of treatments that are out there. And you kind of are like the North Star here in the Pacific Northwest on Lewy body trials. Would you kind of explain to us, what does that mean to be a part of a trial?
Sure. So being part of a clinical trial is a really important way to participate in developing treatments for these diseases. Fundamentally, everybody in the field, whether physician or nurse or a patient or family member, everybody is looking for better treatments for these diseases, Parkinson's disease, dementia, and dementia with Lewy bodies. We do have treatments that can help with the symptoms right now, but what we particularly are lacking is treatment that's proven to affect the disease progression, like how fast it gets worse. And so a lot of times people will come to me and ask, I want to be proactive with my disease, my Parkinson's or my dementia with Lewy bodies. And how can I make sure that my future is as good as possible? How can I slow down the rate of progression? And like I say, it's certainly important to take medications as prescribed that we have. It's important to exercise regularly. That helps with the rate of progression. But one of the best ways you can make your own future with these diseases better is by participating in clinical trials.
Right.
Because it's only by having volunteers who are willing to donate their time to these efforts that we can develop these treatments. It's really important to know if these treatments actually work the way we hope they do. And, both because we want to make sure we're giving effective and safe treatments to our patients, and also practically because that's the only way to get them approved for use, right?
Well, and the thing that I love about being a part of a clinical trial is that, right now, in many cases, like Alzheimer's and dementia related, conditions, the prognosis is not great. So when you look at, these are breakthroughs that are seeing promise and results, which I am just blown away every time I talk to somebody like you, because it really makes me realize that there is going to be a cure someday, by what they're discovering and the things that are happening. And it's like, I know that I was in a meeting not too long ago with a circle of people, and with Josh Pan, who's with Athera Pharma, and somebody asked around the table, do you really think that there's going to be a cure someday? And I loved what he had to say. He said, absolutely. And there was like no hesitation, no anything. And I thought to myself, this is where, when I heard Josh say this, it was like, yes, we all want to be optimistic, but sometimes we forget just how far we've come and how many things are happening out there that show promise. And to be involved in a trial like this, conceivably you could be the first one, first individual to be fully cured of something that never has been. All of the things prolong your life that much longer. And so that's why we're very excited to be involved. And of course, at Evergreen Medical Center, you guys do a clinical trial for Lewy body dementia. Tell me a little bit about what your trial is involved, what you do with it.
Sure. Yeah. Well, so we are working with Athera, as you mentioned, on this trial. It's called the SHAPE trial. It's a study of a new medication, fosgonimeton. I think you're right. I think it's a lot of optimism that this will at least help improve the rate of progression of these diseases.
Right.
Animal studies that have come before the human studies It's shown to reduce inflammation in the brain. It's shown to help create new connections, a process called synaptogenesis. It creates connections between the brain cells that can help them function better. And it helps promote the survival of the remaining neurons, brain cells.
Sure.
And so I think there certainly is a lot of hope, and we're very excited to be working with Athira on this study.
Yes.
I think it has to be said that when you participate in a clinical trial, and I tell this to anybody who's interested in participating, when you participate in a trial, we don't know entirely for sure what the effect will be, whether you'll have benefit in the trial itself. But it's a really important way of getting to those eventual answers, right? Of finding those things that really do help make a difference. So I think you said it well.
Well, and certainly in participating in something like this, there's so many new insights that can be improved over time just by, even if you're in a trial for 6 months or whatever, you might have some knowledge or, breakthroughs in that early 6-month period that might make your treatment going forward even that much more positive based on what we find. So you may, even though you may not be a part of that trial, I think that's one of the things that's really exciting, is that it will always do you good in the beginning because there's things that are happening. And I think there's a lot more attention that's paid to you by being a part of that. And there's a lot of things. So Dr. Burdick, how do we reach you? How does somebody sign up for your trial?
Yeah, we'd be happy to talk to people who are interested. I think the best option is to go to our website. There are 2 websites you can go to. The trial itself has a website called www.shapetrial, SHAPETRIAL.com. And you can also reach us at evergreenhealth.com/research. That
is fabulous. And Dr. Burdick and we are going to be with you this hour. We're going to talk about Lewy body dementia. We're going to talk about the approaches to treat Parkinson's disease, dementia, and talking about, rebuilding brain networks, which is, this is a fascinating topic. And I'm looking forward to spending time with you the rest of this hour. And Dr. Burdick and will be right back right after this.
The preceding podcast was provided by Athira Pharma and Answers for Elders Radio. For more information about the Alzheimer's clinical trial, go to athiraclinicaltrials.com.